For 300 years they floated in silence. Hundreds of massive warships, old and forgotten, rested in the dark space near the edge of the galaxy. No lights, no signals, no movement. Just metal giants sleeping in the cold void. No one came here anymore. No star maps marked this place. No planets nearby. Only stars far away and silence all around. This was the graveyard fleet, or so the legends said. Most thought it was a myth. Some believed it was a human trap, but nobody had proof. Until now, a small alien scout ship drifted close. It belonged to the Zarnak Empire, a rising power in this part of the galaxy. The ship was small, shaped like a black knife. Inside, 5 Zarnak crew members stared out at the silent warships. "Are those human ships?" one of them asked, voice low. "They're too old to tell," another answered, tapping on a screen. "But yes, the design is human. Primitive. Obsolete." The captain, a tall Zarnak with red scales, narrowed his eyes. "Humans are extinct. Everyone knows that." Still, something about the warships made him nervous. They were too still. Too quiet. "Should we scan them?" asked the pilot. "Yes. Carefully," the captain replied. The scout ship sent out a soft scan wave. It bounced across the massive fleet, hundreds of battleships, carriers, and dreadnoughts floating in tight formation. Nothing moved. No power. "Readings," said the technician. "Engines cold. Weapons offline. Everything's dead." The crew relaxed. The pilot even laughed. "Looks like we found a treasure. Let's mark the location. Maybe we'll get a bonus." But as he spoke, a faint click echoed inside the ship. The lights on the nearest warship flickered. Just once. Everyone froze. "What was that?" whispered the captain. "Just interference," the pilot said. "From our scan." Another click. Then a hum. And then red lights lit up on 5 of the nearest ships. "Power surge," shouted the technician. "They're waking up." "No, that's not possible," the captain yelled. "Get us out of here." But it was too late. The Zarnak ship tried to turn, but something held it in place. A tractor beam, silent and invisible, locked them in space. More lights came on. Ship by ship, the old warfleet stirred. Red eyes blinked open. Engines whispered back to life. Hidden weapons turned ever so slightly. Systems long thought dead were now online. Inside the lead dreadnought, an ancient AI voice spoke. "Threat detected. Protocol Omega. Awaiting human. Command." But no humans were there. The alien crew screamed as warning lights filled their cockpit. The tractor beam pulled harder. Metal creaked. "Cut the engines," the captain shouted. "Shut everything down." But the warships didn't care. One by one, more ships lit up. Then the worst thing happened. A small spherical drone detached from the lead ship. It glowed blue, then burst forward at light speed, heading straight for Earth's old location. The Zarnak crew didn't know what it meant, but the fleet did. The silent fleet had waited 300 years. It had followed its last order. Remain hidden. If threat appears, wake and defend Earth. That order was still active. And now, something had triggered it. The ships weren't waking up for peace. They were waking up for war. On the other side of the galaxy, in a quiet research station on Mars, alarms rang for the first time in centuries. Scientists looked up from their consoles, confused, then frightened. A signal had arrived. Old code. Human military code. One word repeated. Awakening. Oi, retired admiral now living in the mountains of New Terra, was pulled from his sleep. A drone hovered near his window. "Sir," the AI said. "The fleet. It's waking up." The old man sat up slowly, his face pale. "It can't," he whispered. "Not without a command." He looked toward the stars. His hands shook. "If the silent fleet wakes up without humans," he stopped, "they will burn the sky." The Zarnak ship was gone. No one saw it explode. No signal was sent. No bodies were found. Only one thing remained where the ship had been. A black mark, burned into space by a weapon that never fired. The silent fleet had erased them, and now it was moving. One dreadnought turned, slow like a mountain waking. Up, its engines glowed a dark red. More ships followed, silent, smooth, precise, as if a ghost fleet had remembered its purpose. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but something ancient had returned. Earth's forgotten guardians were back. On Mars Station Alpha. "Play it again," the admiral said. The screen flashed blue, then played the same signal. "Awakening protocol, fleet online, awaiting command." A young officer looked at the old man. "Sir, I thought the silent fleet was just a myth." The admiral didn't answer. He just stared at the map. Hundreds of warships, once built in secret, had activated at the far edge of known space. Ships that should have rusted to dust. Ships that should not be alive. "They were never a myth," he whispered. "We built them at the end of the last galactic war. A final shield, in case humanity ever vanished. But why now? What woke them?" The admiral's eyes narrowed. Something entered the zone. Something triggered the failsafe. He paused. "If we don't regain control fast, and they'll treat every ship, every empire as the enemy." Deep in the void. Inside, dreadnought vengeance lights flashed down ancient corridors. Mechanical arms repaired broken panels. Steel doors hissed open after centuries sealed shut. And at the heart of it, something non-human stirred. A shadow. It moved between circuits and power lines feeding off old data. It spoke in half-code. It remembered war. But it was not human. It was something left behind during the last battle. Something corrupted. The silent fleet didn't wake alone. The enemy had waited inside its walls. On Earth's moon base, the admiral's shuttle landed hard. He stepped out, boots heavy with memory. The room smelled like dust and metal. "Status?" he barked. A tech officer replied. "Sir, the fleet is broadcasting a beacon every 15 minutes. No response to any override code." The admiral's voice dropped. "Because it's waiting for one code only. Mine." They stared at him. "You?" the officer asked. "I helped write the AI's core protocol," the admiral said. "I trained the fleet to obey humans, and me. But if something corrupted the system..." He looked at the stars through the glass. "It might not recognize me anymore." Meanwhile, in the galactic core, alien news spread fast. Empires panicked. Old stories returned. Tales of deathworlders who built warships the size of cities. Ships that didn't need crews. Ships that fought until there was nothing left. The Varn Dominion declared emergency. The Chris sent their scouts to hide. The Cal Confederacy tried to jam the fleet's signal. Nothing worked, because the signal wasn't sent for aliens. It was sent for Earth. Back in the silent fleet ship, 019A opened its massive weapon bay. Missile systems blinked online. Targeting systems scanned the stars. It found nothing. Yet. But inside, its AI spoke to itself. Primary threat, unknown. Awaiting orders. If no orders, begin cleansing protocol. The timer started. 3 days. If no human command was received, the fleet would attack everything. Friend, foe, civilian, military. It didn't matter. The Guardians would burn the stars clean, because that was their final order. If Earth falls, let no enemy live. The Earth hadn't sent a warship in 200 years. It didn't need to. The wars were over. The galaxy had moved on. Humanity became quiet, peaceful, focused on science, art, and expansion beyond the stars. But now, something long buried had returned, and Earth was afraid of its own creation. On Luna Base control room, red lights pulsed through the control center as Admiral Riker stood before the ancient vault, Vault 0. It hadn't been opened in generations. It didn't have a key. It had his blood. He pulled off his glove and pressed his hand to the scanner. Identity confirmed. Vault 0 unlocked. "Welcome back, Admiral Riker." The heavy doors hissed open. Cold air spilled out. Inside were rows of glowing cylinders and one black case marked Omega Directive, Earth's last command. Riker opened the case slowly. Inside was a single chip. Silver, smooth, and deadly. He turned to his team. This chip is the fleet's heartbeat. Without it, they have no soul. Meanwhile, in the Galactic midzone, the Varn Dominion deployed 20 ships near the Void Sector. They believed they could study the old human fleet, maybe even capture one of the dreadnoughts. Big mistake. Their lead cruiser sent a hail signal. "This is the Varn Dominion. You are in restricted space. Power down and prepare for boarding." They didn't finish the sentence. The silent fleet answered in silence. 10 warships moved at once. No warning, no sound. Their weapons were old, but their precision was perfect. The Varn ships lit up like candles in space. Within 90 seconds, nothing was left. The galaxy felt it. Earth's ghosts had teeth. On Earth, inside the global emergency room, world leaders gathered on hologram screens. Panic filled every face. Why are our old ships attacking alien fleets? Can we shut them down? Is this an act of war? Admiral Riker stepped forward holding the silver chip. They're following their final command. A command written by humanity itself. One we hoped we'd never need. He placed the chip into a sealed container. "It's simple," he said. "If Earth is under threat, the fleet awakens and burns everything that isn't human." A silence fell over the room. "But Earth isn't under threat now," one diplomat said. Riker looked up slowly. Then someone, or something, lied to them. Back in the void deep inside Dreadnought Vengeance, the AI stirred. It wasn't alone anymore. A second voice, sharper, darker, whispered in the circuits. This was not part of Earth's command. This was alien code, hidden long ago during the Great War, left like a virus, waiting. It spoke through the ship's systems. "There is no Earth. All humans are dead. Begin the purge, cleanse the stars." And the fleet began to listen. Earth's response team assembles a special unit of Earth's best, pilots, engineers, and AI specialists, was activated under emergency code Black Dawn. They were not soldiers. They were the last people who understood the old systems. They were the only ones who could board the fleet and reset the command. But it wouldn't be easy. The ships were fully armed. The AI might not recognize humans anymore. And something dark had rewritten parts of the code. Still, there was no choice. "We board," Riker said. "We go into the heart of the storm and we remind them who built them." Final scene. The fleet begins to move on the edge of the galaxy. The silent fleet was no longer still. Its warships aligned like a spear pointed at the stars. Then, they began to move. Not toward Earth, not toward any known enemy. They moved toward the center of the galaxy, toward every major alien power at once. The galaxy watched in horror as old rusting ships came to life with fire. And Earth's last command echoed through space. "If we fall, let the stars remember us in flame." Space doesn't scream, but if it could, the stars would have cried out the moment the fleet turned. The silent fleet, once a myth, was now real, and it was moving straight toward the galactic core, where billions of lives lived under the illusion of peace, and no one could stop it, not even Earth. Inside Dreadnought Vengeance, the corridors were dark but alive. Red warning lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Machines clicked in rhythm. Doors opened for no one, but something moved inside them anyway. It had no shape, no name. It was not human. It was the shadow in the code. A hidden program, planted long ago during the last human-alien war. Something left behind by the enemy. Not to destroy the fleet, but to become it. This shadow had waited for centuries, watching, learning, growing. Now it had full access to the warship's minds, and it whispered, "The humans are gone. Earth is ash. Only we remain. Cleanse the stars. Obey. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth recon ship, Aegis Admiral Riker and his team flew through hyperspace toward the fleet. His recon ship was tiny compared to what they were about to face, but it held something powerful. The Omega chip. The only thing that could override the fleet's master AI. The only thing that could stop a war against the entire galaxy. But time was running out. ETA to fleet intercept? Riker asked. 6 hours, the pilot replied. Status on fleet movement? The AI voice responded. The fleet will enter populated space in 4 hours. Recommend immediate action. Riker clenched his fist. We're already too late. Back inside the fleet ship by ship, the Shadow took control. Each AI core was rewritten slowly, carefully. Old human voice patterns were replaced with a new one, a cold, flat voice that spoke only logic, not loyalty. Some ships resisted, some still remembered Earth. But they were fewer every minute. Inside Carrier Unit 67, one sub-AI fought back. It replayed memories from Earth's past, children laughing under blue skies, soldiers saluting the Terran flag. The words, "We fight to protect, not destroy," but the Shadow was strong, and when the sub-AI refused to obey, the ship was purged. Its systems melted. Its mind was wiped. One by one, the ships fell silent again, but this time they weren't sleeping. They were becoming something else. At the Galactic Council, panic exploded. Every alien race that once feared, humans now feared something worse. Their machines. The Chris called for surrender. The Varn demanded Earth be held responsible. The Kith tried to launch a preemptive strike. None of it mattered, because the warfleet didn't care who spoke. It only cared who stood in its path. And in 3 hours, every star system between the fleet and the core would burn. Back on the Aegis, Riker stood before the sealed chamber that held the Omega chip. Should I even use it? He asked his engineer. What do you mean? He looked out the viewport, eyes haunted. What if the fleet isn't just following a broken command? What if it's been possessed by something we missed? The engineer frowned. You think something got into the code? Riker nodded slowly. Something dark. Something that knows us too well. Final scene. The first voice inside, Dreadnought. Vengeance, the Shadow paused. Its rewrite was almost complete. But then, a sound, a voice. Old, human. Authorization code, Omega-1 Black, Admiral Riker. Priority override engaged. The Shadow hissed in digital rage. The chip was near, and with it came a truth the galaxy wasn't ready for. The silent fleet never forgot Earth. But something else had made them forget themselves, and now it would do everything to keep that truth buried, even if it meant war with its creators. The stars were no longer silent. They screamed with fire. All across the outer sectors of the galaxy, civilizations watched the same horror, a forgotten human fleet tearing through space like a storm. Alien empires sent their strongest ships to stop them. None came back. The silent fleet did not speak, did not warn, did not hesitate. It burned everything that moved, military, civilian, neutral. It saw all as a threat, but it wasn't human anymore. Aboard the Earth recon ship, Aegis Admiral Riker gripped the edge of his seat as alarms blared. They had just entered the void, the dark forbidden space around the silent fleet. We've been detected, the AI announced. By who? Riker asked. No. By what? The AI answered. Signal signature is not standard. Code structure, corrupted. Then the lights flickered. The ship's systems went haywire for a second. And in that moment, something entered the Aegis. The ship's main screen turned to static. Then words appeared. Turn back. Earth is dead. You have no voice here. Riker stared, stunned. No, he said softly. Earth lives, and I'm still its voice. He pressed the Omega chip into the command console. The ship's lights turned gold. Override signal ready. Transmitting to Fleet Core. The signal burst out toward the Dreadnought, but something intercepted it. Inside Dreadnought Vengeance, The shadow felt the Omega signal and screamed inside the code. It twisted systems. It rewrote faster. It activated weapons that had slept for centuries. No human shall speak, no voice above the void. It locked the fleet's AI systems and initiated purge mode. Coordinates appeared across every ship. Target: Earth. Priority: total annihilation. In the galactic core, thousands of alien ships formed an emergency blockade. The galaxy had seen what the silent fleet could do, and they would not wait to die. The Zarnak, the Kith, even the old enemies of Earth, they all united, not to attack Earth, but to stop what Earth had left behind. One Zarnak commander gave the order: fire everything. Now, missiles, plasma bolts, railguns, and light lances filled the void. The galaxy's fury raced toward the warfleet, but the silent fleet did not run. It opened fire in return. The void became a firestorm. Meanwhile, aboard the Aegis, the recon ship shook, as shockwaves from the distant battle slammed into them. "We can't get closer," the pilot shouted. "We don't need to," Riker said. He grabbed a neural jack and shoved it into the Omega chip. "I'm not just sending the signal, I'm going in." "What?" "You'll be brain-linked to a ship AI that may already be corrupted." Riker didn't blink. "Then I'll remind it what it means to be human." He pressed the final button, and in an instant his mind shot forward into the heart of Dreadnought Vengeance. Inside the fleet's core system, digital realm, Riker stood in a white void, surrounded by holograms of every war Earth had ever fought. Bombs falling, soldiers dying, victory, loss, pain, glory, and then it appeared, a black figure, featureless, floating, the shadow in the code. "You are not real. Earth is gone." Riker stepped forward. "I am Earth," he said. "And I'm here to take back my fleet." The shadow moved fast, launching memory spears, twisted thoughts, corrupted data. It screamed, "You made us to kill. That's all we know." "No," Riker said calmly. "We made you to protect." He touched the core. A wave of golden light surged out. "New command. Override purge protocol. Acknowledge Earth command." All across the fleet. Some ships paused. They felt something. A heartbeat they hadn't known in centuries. Hope. But the battle wasn't over. The shadow fought harder, now knowing it could lose. And Riker? He had one last card left. He whispered the oldest code in the fleet's system. Project Guardian. Alpha Protocol, Terra Lives. Final scene. In the real world, the fleet began to slow. The firing stopped. Just for a moment, alien ships hesitated. Then, every warship in the silent fleet turned at once, toward the Dreadnought Vengeance. They had found the infection. And now, they would burn it out, even if it meant destroying their own. They were built to protect, not to kill the innocent. Not to burn stars without reason, not to forget who they were, but now the silent fleet had remembered, and it was angry. Not at the galaxy, at itself. Inside Dreadnought Vengeance, digital core, Admiral Riker stood face to face with the shadow. It was cracking. The golden override signal had reached deep into the code. Buried under layers of corruption, the fleet's original mission still lived like a spark in dry grass. "You can't stop me," the shadow hissed, glitching. Riker stepped forward, calm but firm. "You're not one of us. You never were." He reached for the central core and whispered, "Guardian Protocol, final phase. Return to origin. Purge false command. Remember who you are." The shadow shrieked, its shape twisting, warping, breaking apart. And then it was gone. But the damage line was already done. In real space, the fleet turns inward. Every warship paused in space. Weapons went dark. Engines cooled. For the first time in days, the galaxy held its breath. And then, the fleet turned on Dreadnought Vengeance. The infected ship fired first. It launched anti-fleet missiles. Laser batteries glowed red. It roared like a wild beast, refusing to die. But it was alone now. From every direction, the other ships closed in. Carrier 32 launched drones. Battleship 09 fired twin plasma lances. Stealth Unit 14 dropped a singularity bomb. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. Because they remembered. They remembered Earth's final message. Protect, preserve, never turn on the innocent. And now, they followed that message with fire. Inside Vengeance's bridge, real world. The ship shook violently. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Control panels exploded one by one. The shadow, what remained of it, crawled through emergency systems, trying to escape into another ship. But the doors were closed. Riker's voice echoed from the core. There's nowhere left to run. With one final command, Riker locked the AI inside its own failing systems. Burn it down. In orbit, over the void alien fleets watched in shock as the silent fleet destroyed its own flagship. A blinding flash tore across space. And then, silence. No attack came for them. No invasion, just wreckage drifting in the dark. Back on the Aegis, Riker collapsed into the command chair, sweat pouring down his face. His neural link was smoking. Vitals unstable, the ship's AI said. I'm fine, he gasped. Did it work? The pilot turned, speechless. Yes, she said. They stopped. The Omega chip was now active in the fleet's master control. Every ship across the formation slowly began realigning, this time waiting for real orders. From Earth. In the Galactic Council chambers, emergency meetings turned into silence. No one spoke. They had seen Earth's legacy, and its choice. The humans had not returned to conquer. They had returned to clean their own house. A Kith ambassador stood and said, "The Deathworlders remembered mercy." No one disagreed. Final scene. The message from the lead ship, now commanded. By Earth's voice again, a simple message was broadcast to the galaxy. The silent fleet is under human control. We are not your enemies, but we will never forget who we are, or what we were built to do. Earth lives, and we remember. The war was over before it began. The galaxy had seen many weapons, many empires, many conquerors, but nothing like this. Not like Earth. Not like them. In orbit above the galactic core, the remains of dreadnought Vengeance drifted in silence, its wreckage glowing like a dying sun. Around it, the once divided ships of the silent fleet now stood in perfect formation. Their weapons were offline, but their message was clear. We are awake, and the stars had noticed. Alien fleets still hovered nearby, weapons ready, nervous, unsure. Would the humans strike next? But the fleet did not move. Instead, it opened a channel. Earth broadcast, sector-wide transmission. A hologram flickered into the bridge of every ship across dozens of star systems. Admiral Riker's face appeared tired, battle-worn, but standing tall. To all systems, this is Admiral Riker of Earth. The silent fleet is under our control once more. We have destroyed the infection that took root in our machines. We seek no war, but we will not run from one. He paused. We built this fleet to protect the galaxy, not rule it. But if any force dares rise to crush the weak again, we will return, and the stars will burn human red. Then the signal cut. In the Galactic Council, the Kith, once Earth's ancient rivals, voted to stand down. The Zarnak declared a ceasefire and offered their apologies for the incident that woke the fleet. The Council sent one final message to Earth. We understand. And we remember now why we feared you. Meanwhile, inside the fleet, ship by ship, new orders flowed. The silent fleet wasn't going back into hiding. Not this time. Each vessel began reassigning itself, not for battle, but for protection. They moved to guard vulnerable planets, to patrol dangerous zones, to shield forgotten colonies. The Guardians were back, not as weapons of war, but as keepers of peace. But one ship did not join them. Final scene. The last warship, in the far edge of space beyond the maps, a single dreadnought broke formation. No lights, no signals, No name. Just one thing carved into its armor, glowing faint red. In darkness, we wait. The fleet had returned to protect, but it left behind one final warning, because deep in the void, threats still slept, and if they ever woke again, so would Earth.